Laura lost her daughter 6 years ago. Now, working in a luxurious mansion, she finds her missing daughter. Dear viewers, welcome to our channel. Subscribe to receive more stories every day. Years after her daughter disappeared, Laura never gave up hope of finding her. While working as a maid in a luxurious home, fate revealed something she could never have imagined. Laura was pushing a stroller in the park, enjoying the afternoon sun with her infant while chatting on the phone with her childhood friend. Despite the challenges of being a single mother, Laura was content. She finally had some leisure time to relax and enjoy herself. While talking on the phone, Laura noticed a dog barking incessantly nearby and turned to look. She was distracted, trying to understand amidst those irritating barks what her friend was saying and why the dog was barking so much. After ending the call, Laura went to check if her daughter had woken up due to the barking, but when she realized, her heart sank. The stroller was empty and Lily was gone. Laura was paralyzed, not knowing what to do. She tried to scream, but she was so shocked that her voice wouldn't come out. She ran back and forth, asking everyone passing by if they had seen someone with a small baby in their arms. Some ignored her, while others tried to help, but without success. Laura fell to her knees, crying and calling out for her daughter. She had never felt so much pain and anguish in her life. The police were called and searched the park and surrounding areas, but found no sign of Lily. In the blink of an eye, the child had vanished without a trace. Laura was inconsolable, questioning how she could have lost her daughter like that. She couldn't eat or sleep, and her life turned into a complete, meaningless void. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Laura continued to search for her daughter everywhere but found no trace of her. She began to live a solitary life filled with sadness and pain, with her only hope being that one day she would find her little girl. 6 years had passed, and Laura's life remained empty and sad. She worked as a domestic worker in various family homes but had never worked in a mansion like the one she was employed at now. On her first day at her new job, she was impressed by the grandeur and beauty of the place. She felt small amid so much wealth. Laura had been hired by Monica, a rude and bitter woman. She knew it would be difficult to work for such a person, but the salary was good, and she desperately needed the money to survive. Laura worked tirelessly to meet Monica's demands, cleaning the house, washing clothes, and shopping. Despite all of Laura's efforts, Monica always found something to criticize. She complained about the cleanliness, the clothes, and anything else she could find fault with. However, despite the constant criticism, Laura continued to work hard and didn't mind. It was a way to keep her mind occupied with other things and not on her daughter, making the days a bit lighter. Monica was married to James, a strikingly handsome man with a charming smile. Unlike his wife, he was extremely kind and charismatic, treating everyone with great respect. Laura couldn't understand how he could be with someone so bitter and different from him. The couple had a daughter named Sophia, a sweet and very intelligent little girl. However, Laura felt sorry for the child, as she noticed how lonely Sophia was, always under the care of the nanny and without the proper attention from her mother. Whenever Laura saw the girl running around the house, her heart ached, and her day turned awful, as she remembered her baby Lily and wondered how she was now. Laura lived with the weight of guilt and couldn't forgive herself. Her day only brightened a little when James came home, as his presence lit up any place and left Laura enchanted. She could hardly hide her feelings. James always greeted her and struck up a conversation, making Laura feel completely shy and embarrassed. Over time, she started to feel more comfortable and began talking more with him. Meanwhile, James's wife Monica was rarely home, always out with friends at the salon or shopping. This was a relief to all the employees, as the days she stayed home, the atmosphere in the house was unbearable. James and Monica frequently argued, and it was clear to everyone that their marriage was troubled. One day, after a severe argument, Monica left the house to stay at her mother's. James, tired of the constant fights and disagreements, wanted to confide in Laura, but her shift was ending, and she told him she needed to leave. James gently asked her to stay a little longer for company, and not wanting to be rude, Laura agreed to stay a few more hours. They spent hours talking and drinking wine. James then suddenly leaned in and kissed Laura. At that moment, Laura was stunned and asked him what he was doing, saying it shouldn't have happened. James apologized and said he regretted it but couldn't hold back anymore. Laura also felt something for him but knew it wasn't right. She decided to leave as things had gone too far. The next day, Monica returned and was furious. The nanny for Sophia had called in sick, and she was about to leave for a nail appointment. Laura was arriving for her shift when she was surprised by Monica's request to stay as the nanny for the day. Laura didn't mind, as it would be much easier to care for the girl than to clean the house. She cared for Sophia as if she were her daughter, feeling what it would be like if Lily hadn't disappeared. Sophia was a lovely girl, nothing like her mother. Laura had never had such close contact with the girl as she did at that moment due to her busy schedule. Laura was brushing Sophia's hair, listening to her excitedly talk about her day at school. It was their first time together, but they chatted and laughed as if they had known each other for years. Suddenly, something caught Laura's attention and left her completely frozen. While brushing Sophia's hair, Laura noticed a mark on the girl's neck very similar to one Lily had, which left her perplexed. The memory of her daughter's disappearance flooded back, and 1,000 thoughts raced through her mind. She began to consider the possibility that Sophia could be her missing daughter. Laura asked Sophia how old she was, and the girl replied that she was 6, which further fueled Laura's suspicions, as it was exactly 6 years ago that her little Lily had disappeared. There was a significant chance that Sophia could be her daughter, but she needed to act cautiously and be sure before doing anything. Laura took the opportunity to take a strand of Sophia's hair that was on the comb, and as soon as possible, she would secretly request a DNA test. James had just arrived home, and Laura tried to keep her distance from him to avoid arousing suspicion. She knew she had feelings for him but now suspected everyone and didn't know who he really was. James noticed that Laura was acting strangely and distant, but she tried to hide it, blaming fatigue. The next day before going to work, Laura stopped by a clinic to request the DNA test. She thought she would get the results the same day but was frustrated to learn she would have to wait a week for the results. At work, she tried to act normally, as she couldn't let anyone discover what she was doing. Her job was at stake, and if Sophia was indeed her daughter, there was a risk of losing her again, as James and Monica might flee with the girl if they discovered she was investigating. Laura constantly watched Sophia playing in the house, imagining if she really was her daughter. Her heart was heavy, and she couldn't handle the anxiety. A week felt like a year. Meanwhile, James tried to approach Laura again, apologizing for what had happened, thinking she was distant because of the kiss. She told him everything was fine and that it was better to forget what had happened, as it would never happen again. But James, holding Laura's hand, said that no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't get her out of his mind and that what had happened meant a lot to him. Laura was confused, feeling attracted to James but knowing that if Sophia was her daughter, it meant Monica and James might be responsible for her baby's disappearance. At that moment, Monica arrived silently and overheard their entire conversation. Furious, she began to argue with James and, screaming, kicked Laura out of the house. Laura was desperate, not knowing what to do. Crying, she left without even saying goodbye to Sophia. But her biggest concern now was not unemployment or her feelings for James or anything else. The only thing that disturbed her peace was whether Sophia was really her lost daughter, and she didn't want to be away from her until it was confirmed otherwise. She spent every day calling the clinic to see if the DNA results were ready. Finally, the day arrived for her to discover the truth. The test was ready, and Laura wasted no time in retrieving it. When she arrived at the clinic, she was given a white envelope containing the results. Laura's heart was racing and her hands were trembling. She couldn't believe she was about to find out the truth. When she finally opened the envelope, her eyes quickly scanned the page until she found the answer she longed for. Sophia was indeed her daughter. Laura felt immense happiness and relief. She couldn't believe it. With tears in her eyes, she read the results again to make sure she was interpreting them correctly. With the test in hand, Laura immediately went to the police and told them the whole story. The police acted quickly, arresting James and Monica. James was in shock, not understanding what was happening, thinking it was all a mistake. Meanwhile, Monica was in tears and visibly shaken, knowing she had no way out. After hours of interrogation, Monica confessed the whole truth. She said she had taken the baby from the park because she didn't want to ruin her body with a pregnancy and only pretended to be pregnant out of love for James, who really wanted to be a father. So, one day while James was away on a business trip, she pretended to have given birth prematurely and told him the child had already been born. With her cold demeanor, Monica pretended to be Lily's mother for 6 years without fearing she would be discovered. James couldn't believe it when he heard Monica's confession. He never imagined she could do something so terrible and cowardly. With Monica's confession, he was released and could move on with his life, but now it would be without Sophia. Or rather, without Lily, as she was not his real daughter. This left him devastated. Although he was not her biological father, he had raised the little girl with much love and never let her lack anything. Laura knew it would be difficult for Lily to understand everything that was happening, and that she needed to be very patient. To Lily, Laura was still a stranger. The girl didn't want to leave the house she grew up in and wanted to stay close to James, whom she believed was her father. To avoid Lily becoming too confused and to prevent Laura from being hurt by not being with her daughter, James invited her to live in the mansion with them. This way, Lily wouldn't have to leave the house, and little by little, Laura could get closer to the girl. Laura didn't hesitate to accept, as she didn't want to spend another second away from her daughter. Over time, she and James grew even closer and entered a serious relationship. Together, they formed a happy and loving family with Lily, who grew up surrounded by love and affection. Every day, Laura thanked for having the chance to reunite with her daughter and hoped that all families suffering from something similar could be blessed with a reunion, just as she was one day. Dear viewers, thank you for watching. If you like this story, please subscribe to our channel to receive more stories every day. Share with us what you think of this story.